Hey, Sean, any injuries to report from last night?
Yeah, so the only guys that I'm waiting to hear on Reggie from, obviously Cam Curl banged his knee up, but he was able to return to the game, which was good. I think it just got, he and Roseboom collided on, had their knees collide on that Justin Jefferson play pass, completion they had, and then Galmore left with what did he have, Artis?
Shoulder.
No, shoulder.
Yeah, with the shoulder. So guys are kind of trickling in right now, and so I will have a little bit more information on him. But those were the only two that we have to report right now.
A few weeks ago, you were talking about the difficulty in evaluating the defense just because you expected the defense to be able to play a certain way based off of how you expected the offense to be. Was last night closer to what you kind of envisioned for this team as you were putting together the roster?
Yeah, the answer is yes, Adam, and I think it's for a couple reasons. I thought we played a complete team game where there was examples, which is reflective of football, of one side picking up the other, complementary ball, and then being able to close out the game. I mean, that's an excellent team. You go 14-14 on the first four drives of the game. And then I thought our guys were able to settle in. We got stops. We were able to, get opportunities to be able to rush Arnold, impose their will a little bit. I thought Jared Verse made a big impact on the game. And then obviously offensively being able to finish out some of those drives. And then even special teams, Ethan Evans is like a golfer with some of his short field punts, just dropping it inside the five. So the answer is yes to your question. That's much more reflective of playing as a complete team and giving an opportunity for some of those defensive players to really come to life. And Fisk had a lot of good quick rushes where he just came up short. But even if you're not able to hit him, those quarterbacks know, man, that's a quick beat, and that does take a toll on you throughout the course of the game.
We saw the video of Matthew giving the game ball back to you to celebrate your 80th win with the franchise and kind of getting to reflect on doing it on your son's birthday. Just kind of what did all of those milestones yesterday mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a really cool thing for Matthew. It shows how selfless he is. I mean, here's a guy that you're etching yourself in the all-time books, ninth in completion, surpassing, Hall of Famer and Dan Marino. To be able to flip that around. But you guys have heard me say it was incredibly special because you talk about real perspective, having a son and what he's done and what he's meant to me and my wife Veronica, and just some of the different things that he's provided, where you're just growing as a human. But for that to occur was really special. And it's such a credit to players, coaches. Football is the greatest team sport that there is. I'm sure proud to to be a part of that, and it was definitely a special night, and that was really cool of Matthew. I appreciated that.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Sarah?
Hey, Sean. Was there a moment during the game or maybe pregame where you just kind of looked over and realized, like, wow, Puka's back?
I think, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments. I think the moment I realized, all right, this maniac's really back is when he just stands under the goalpost during, our team warm-ups and just kind of goes back and forth. And Nate Shieldhouse was kind of looking for him. I said, oh, no, hey, that lets you know he's ready to go. Just leave him be. And then really right away, I thought it was good. You get that first little drop out of the way, then you get him a second touch on the second play of the game where he ends up catching the screen, breaking the tackle to get a first down. His energy, his passion, his love for the game. I mean, this guy is an igniter in every sense of the word. It was awesome having him back out there. I love him.
Some of the blocks he was making in the run game. What does that part of his game say about how important it is for you guys to have him on the field outside of just the passing game?
Yeah, I mean, that was where I was so bummed because, people just see the stats that are incredible, but he does so much for the production of the run game. I mean, he enables us to be in really different personnel group. And you guys heard me mention a lot of special players on their defense that are movable pieces, or like what Michael Hoyt is to us defensively. That's what Puka Nacua is. He just happens to be an all-pro receiver that has all these stats and accolades and the fantasy numbers that people get enamored with. But you watch what he did on 4th down and 1. That play doesn't convert. Those are stops against the Raiders, that we got last week. And then here he is being able to get a hat on a hat. And the guy's a stud. He loves the game. He loves to compete. And I think he gets as much excitement out of catching a touchdown as he does springing a block for Kyron. And you guys can see that by the authentic enthusiasm and joy he plays with. He brings out the best in everyone around him, and that's as big a compliment as I can say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jordan.
Hey, Sean, on Ethan Evans, he has really been working on that placement. When he came in as a rookie, we knew that he could just like kick the snot out of the ball, but he's been really working on the what have you seen growth wise from him and specifically the placement?
Yeah, I think it's really just what you said in the question. He's put a lot of work into that. And I think he and Chase have really worked on it. Obviously, me as an offensive coach, with my background being on the offense, I hate punting in general, but he has been a major weapon for us. And it seems like we've had a lot of those shorter field punts, when we've had we're kind of moving the ball and you get right in that weird territory. And I mean, for him to consistently hit that the way that he has in those moments, it's been a real credit to the work working and it paying off. He's gaining confidence. There's a comfort, and it was a huge play for us, a couple times. But to be able to pin that thing where you don't even give Powell a chance to catch it in play and maybe return it and put it right out of bounds at the 3, I'm really happy for him. He'll get a game ball on Monday.
When you go back and you look at the last 2 games, Raiders and obviously Vikings, what specifics can you tell us about how the offensive line has performed and how that unit has sort of taken it upon itself to combat a couple of complicated, I know they weren't playing you the way they usually do, complicated defenses.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's a result of how some of the things went early on and they were able to handle it, which is what led them to make some adjustments or whatever. That's what I would imagine, at least. But here's what I would say. The first thing is when you look at the Raiders game, we ended up, obviously tremendous respect for the aggressiveness of that defense. And I think Crosby's as good as it gets in this league. There's great players. He's definitely one of them, and he's as disruptive as it gets. There was such an intentional plan, maybe as intentional as we've ever been since I've been the coach here, about not letting somebody be a factor. That changed the way that we called the game. And then as a result of the control that our defense had, we were very, from being around us, you would just say we played to win that game. And really that led us to be a lot more conservative. But they did a good job with what was asked of them. I was proud of the offensive line last week, Jordan. And then yesterday, I thought they had command of the game. And that enabled us to be able to do a lot of different things, whether that was getting dirty runs. I think one thing that's so difficult about Flores and those guys as well is they present multiple personnel groupings, multiple front structures, different things that we've talked about over the years with the same person, with the same 11 guys out there. So I thought for us to get targeted right for the most part in the run game, for us to get targeted right for the most part in protection. And then, oh, by the way, now let's compete post-snap. Let's see if we can actually stay connected, create a seam for Kyron. Let's see if we can stay connected to be able to give Matthew a click. And that was on display. And as a result of that, I think you saw the ball was able to go up, out, down the field. Matthew activated all parts of the field, and it always starts up front. I'm really proud of that group. Ryan Wendell and Zach Cromer and Mike Munchak, they've done a really good job. And I'm proud of the leadership from guys like Rob Havenstein. It was really cool.
Rob, kind of being at the veteran status that he is, these games just they never feel good to anybody, but they can't feel good for him. But yeah. How has the way that he comes to work every day, what impact maybe has it had on you, especially over the last couple of years?
Huge. Here's what I would say. It means so much to him. There's certain guys, especially when you're with him, and Rob's one of the few guys left with Higbee and Cooper that have been here from the very beginning, when I got here in 2017, and Rob and Higbee were here before that. The game means a lot to them. And they put a lot into it, and they want to influence and affect positive change. And I remember talking to Rob before the bye, and we were kind of looking for some different answers and just seeing the way that he pours into guys and some of the input he was able to give to me that we've tried to, have, be reflected in the way that we've approached certain things. I certainly think it's helped. His steadiness, his consistent demeanor. He did such a great job against Max Crosby. That's a stressful time in and of itself. And then let's turn around and play a defense that you flip on the film and you're like, what the hell is going on? And so Rob's been awesome. He's been that way. I think what's been really cool too, Jordan, is he's always been a leader in his own right. And then obviously the torch was kind of passed when Whitworth retires. And he has really come into his own and figuring out how to lead that's authentic to himself, while also learning from some other great ones like Witt and, the John Sullivans of the world. But he's special. I really love working with Rob.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Stu,
Hey, Sean, are there any guys that are currently on IR that you anticipate entering that 21-day window next week?
I'm reluctant to say after what happened with Puka this week. So I do know this. Steve and Jonah are making good progress. John Johnson's making good progress. And then, also wanted to touch on, it was obviously probably a surprise to you guys, and it wasn't something that we first, foresaw, going about putting Troy Reeder on IR. He finished the game out. He comes to Reggie after I had spoken to you guys, and he had a hamstring injury. And, you're in between where you're saying, okay, when's the projected timetable to get back? What does that look like? You have to be able to create a roster space if you cut somebody. And because of what the projection was in terms of his return with, the ability to get back to performance like what Gary asked last night, we ended up putting him on IR. And that was the move that was reflected as a result of activating Puka Nacua. So I know we hadn't spoken about that. That was something that was kind of unforeseen to me until I spoke with Reggie. And then it was a reflection of a couple other moves where they're all kind of one reflects the other, and that was how we got to that. But as far as your original question, Stu, we will see. There's a possibility that we could get some of those guys back, and Seattle, and I can't remember who we play after that. Those have kind of been those dates that we've talked about.
Appreciate that clarity on both fronts. And then just the play energy is something that you talk about as a trait for a lot of these guys on the roster. There were a lot of examples of that last night, whether that was swagger, the way those guys carried themselves. Just what do you notice about the contagious impact that has, and how, if at all, do you reinforce that as something that's, valuable from a standpoint like that?
Yeah, I think you show it, you feel it, you can see it. And it's something that you create your own energy, and we talked about really three things: creating the energy to compete hard, respond to adversity, and ultimately finish an opponent. And I thought they did that. But football is fun, and it's contagious, and there's an energy and a swag that comes from it. And the way that you play good football is you have good work throughout the course of the week. You have that mindset, you have that trust in your teammates and yourself and the preparation. And I thought that was reflected. And really, there were so many guys, and it was the team playing off of one another. Obviously, it was great to get those two guys back that we had mentioned, but I thought Matthew's energy from the jump, when you see him running around and he's escaping, invading rushers, and he's kind of looking at the sidelines like he knows I'm him tonight, that elevates everybody. That was fun.
Thank you.
Gary.
Hey, Sean. When I asked you last night about Cooper and the trade speculation, you had said it was good to have him back, and that's what I expect to stay that way.
Yep.
And as
You
the de facto head,
exactly.
as the head of the organization, it seems like you're going to have, if not the final say, then pretty close to it. So, I mean, can you double down on that? Is he going to stay with you guys, or is there still a chance you could move?
That's not a move that we want to make. Here's what I tell you, Gary. I'm really glad, like I said last night, I'm so grateful that Cooper's back. And what I was disappointed or upset, I don't know what you want to say, because people are impacted, and this is what makes our game great. But there's things that are out there, and we pride ourselves on being straightforward with our guys. And, there was conversation in regards to people reaching out about him. But to say that we were proactively seeking that out, that was something that I had a hard time with, because you talk to people, you deal with them open and honest and directly. And there's a lot of conversations that go on behind the scenes, and a lot of stuff does get out there. But when it's not accurate, it's really important to be able to have, the transparency with people. But I thought Cooper played really well last night. I thought some of the things that weren't impacted on the stat sheet were big. Fighting back to the ball to get PIs. He's such a tough player. He's such a great leader for us. He sees all the things that are right about the Rams, Gary. I love Cooper Kupp, and I'm glad he's on this team.
So you anticipate.
like I said, he's a Ram, and we expect it to stay that way.
Okay. Obviously with Aaron and others, you've had some very talented defensive players
Yep.
and have them now. But Jared Verse, just in terms of being animated and being vocal, seems to be a little bit of a different level, at least recently. So what's that like to have a young player like that in the midst of things?
I love it. It was one of my favorite things about him coming out of Florida State. He's a man, and he's a bully on the field, and he gets going. And he likes to, he likes to talk. He likes to have fun. He likes to compete, and he plays with a style of play that I very much am in alignment with. And we want to do it in the right way, but I love what this guy brings to our team. He brings an edge. He brings an energy, a toughness. He's got some shit to him that I really like, Gary, and that's been big for our defense. And I think guys feed off of that, and it's a good thing. We need some guys like that.
Thanks very much.
Aaron had that to him too. He just might not have talked as loud, but the way he would stare a hole through people, they knew. Ramsey was like that. Sometimes those best defensive players, they have some stuff to them that you're like, oh man, we need that. You need that edge, that energy, that swagger, and Jared Verse definitely has that.
Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Wyatt.
Hey, Sean. Obviously, offensive line played fantastic last night. How much emphasis was put into the pass protection for the running backs, and what kind of communication does that take to successfully execute?
That was huge. Ron Gould does such a great job. I thought we would be utilized a lot more with our backs in protection. And, what I thought was cool, though, was the game was able to be kind of played where we weren't in too many unfavorable down and distances. So we had a little bit more at our disposal in terms of some of the play selections. I thought, Kyron, when Blake was in there, those guys did a really nice job. And Ron always has those guys prepared, but there was a lot of different looks that they presented. And certainly, there was a couple times where they were asked to step up and put their face on some second level players that are violent and do an excellent job. And so that was key and critical to be able to keep Matthew clean yesterday.
And on the defensive side, you said last week that the defense was starting to find their identity. How much do you think that's progressed this week? And what can you say about Chris Shula and how he's progressed as a play caller throughout the year?
He's done a great job. I think, it was really when you are dealing with so many unforeseen things and guys playing for the first time, and then, okay, what does life really look like without Aaron Donald? You think you know, but you don't know. And then what does it look like to get some of these additions, whether it be on all three, fronts, whether it's the first line, second line, or the back end, back line of defense. And so his ability to be able to collaborate with his coaching staff, figure out what do our guys do best, maximize different personnel groupings that we can present that still give us an identity, it's been outstanding. He's done a great job. I'm not surprised at all because I know what a great coach he is and how steady he is. And I expect us to continue to build, but I've been really proud and pleased with the job that he's done, and he's working his tail off to try to be able to put guys in the right spot, and that's why they love him so much, because they can feel the investment that he has in them and what's best for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll wrap with you, Dennis.
Okay. Hey, Coach, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dennis?
Doing great. In regards to Jared Verse, has there been one particular thing that has accelerated his growth since training camp?
No, I think it's his mindset. I think it's his confidence, is just mental toughness. I think he loves to compete, all the things. But I would just say, this is a rookie that plays the game like a grown man. I think that's accelerated his impact. And then what I think's been really cool is, while you guys might not see it, even though he was making some splash plays for the last couple of weeks, he's played as disciplined as he's played, even though he still is impacting the game in tremendous ways. Because there were some other times where it's saying, yeah, you do that, but you're actually hurting our defense here. And he's starting to understand the importance of where my play ops arise. When are some of these opportunities with taking calls or different things like that? And Joe Caniglio's done a great job. I think Michael Hoyt's leadership in that room has been really impactful. But Jared Verse is a stud. He's only going to continue to get better, and I love what he brings to our group.
And to follow up that question, how will you evaluate the defensive line play, in particular the last couple of weeks?
They've been great. I really think Giff Smith and AC Carter have done a great job, and Joe Caniglio as well with those guys on the edge. Since the Arizona game, I think we've played pretty well on the front, and I think it's gotten progressively better. I thought Bobby Brown did an excellent job in the run defense last night as the game progressed. I thought Fisk made his presence felt, and then Kobe Turner is always going to be an impact player. But I was really pleased overall with the growth, maturation of what that group's done over the last few weeks. I expect it to continue to trend in the right direction. And with Giff Smith's leadership, AC Carter, and then I mentioned Joe with those guys on the edges, I've been really pleased with the job they've done and the leadership they've provided for that group.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Coach, appreciate you, man.
Okay, thanks, guys.